Yeah, let's crack into it. I'd like to welcome to stage Degen from Botborgs here live at Grape. We are doing an AMA today based on Botborgs, having a look at the game that's coming out. You can't really call it a game; it's more of a metaverse with planets and multiple systems where there's going to be three types of different planets. Games interlinking NFTs. There's so much to learn. And I'm glad that you came to stage, Degen. So first off, I'd like to welcome you to stage, and say the normal things like Merry Christmas. How did you go with your family? And that, was it a good sort of event for yourself?
Yeah, it was nice and relaxing. I took the day off. Thanks for having us here. Love doing these AMAs and letting more people know about what we're building, what we're doing. How'd your Christmas go?
Yeah, I had a really good Christmas. I normally work in mining in Australia, so sometimes we can be away at work and miss Christmas altogether. But this year I had it off, so it was a really good event for me and to wind down. I went pretty slack on the videos and that kind of stuff. But I'll just remind people there are in the live questions channel that channel will be open. I have got links to the Twitter for Botborgs and the website, and for anyone that hasn't checked it out, it is absolutely worthwhile. From the get-go, you get a look into the first-person shooter and some of the gameplay, and then you can log on to their main website, and there is a Into the Borgverse. You click on that, it downloads a zip file, which allows you to go and play some of their tank battle game, which is Capture the Flag. Is that right, Degen?
Which is what you said?
Capture the Flag is the whole design behind the
Yeah.
tank battle game.
Mhm. Yeah, so the only game mode right now that in that like first planet that we built, the Tank King planet, it's like a capture the flag multiplayer PvP planet where you can go against it's like 20-person lobbies I think. And yeah, right now the only game mode's capture the flag.
I guess let's start with some of the basics because there is a lot to get into. It's not really like a standard. You're not building a standard where we're making a game type project. You're building a whole lot. But do you want to just introduce yourself to stage and say who you are within the Botborgs section of things?
Yeah, so within the Botborgs like the project as a whole, I help organize like our team. Like I'm the one that like finds new talent. I help like bring on new developers, new artists, as well as managing our socials. And then we have a whole team that I've built around the project to help us work and progress in terms of our game. So
And
yeah, that's basically it.
so more on the marketing media side of things for what you do. Then is that what you mean?
Yeah, more of like the organization and team management aspect. Like I personally don't work like directly developing the game. I'm more of just organize who works on what's getting done like this week, what's getting done next week. Basically like the organization side of things.
So I guess let's have a bit of a look and talk about the team of Botborgs then, because you guys are actually there's a gaming studio behind it as well, and then there's all different types of teams building out the planetary systems. But let's just do like an elevator pitch. Can you introduce to the crowd Botborgs and what it is you guys are building as a whole?
For sure. Yeah. So basically like a breakdown of what we're doing. Got it. Okay. So what we're building, it's basically I wouldn't call it a game. It's called the open world hub of different things that we're building and different experiences. So we break up our world, which we call the Borgverse, which is like a huge sci-fi themed galaxy. We break it up into three different categories of planets, and all of these planets are like floating in the galaxy, and you're able to travel from one to another through two different like systems. So the first system is through our teleportation system, where you're able to go inside of a teleporter that's on every single planet and then just instantly teleport to other planets. Or you could use your spaceship, which, since every planet in the Borgverse has like this little landing pad at the bottom of it, and you're actually able to fly around. Like we posted some videos on Twitter of how you're able to fly around from planet to planet, and while flying, you can shoot down other players. We're working on actually implementing a proximity chat to make it more interesting in terms of actually being able to like talk to players and like shit talk players when you're shooting them. So that's traveling system, and then to dive deeper into the planets, we basically have three categories of planets. We have the community planets, the PvP planets, and the solo planets. So, starting off with with the community planets. These are more like planets where you could travel to these planets and meet with other people, like other players in non-PvP environments. So, for example, we've built a few gallery planets where it's like big like city type environments where players are able to talk to each other, run around the planet, go inside of the buildings. We have like elevators you could take up the buildings to, and then like each floor is like a new pieces of art from other projects on Solana. Well, these planets are basically like I would really call them the beginner planets, where you're actually able to just meet new people, chat with new people, and then once you meet new people, you can decide to go to a different planet, like the PvP planets. And the PvP planets are more action-packed planets, where it's basically kind of like an arcade-style system, where we have a bunch of PvP planets, and each planet is a completely different game. So, for example, the Hoverboards game that we have out right now is falls under that PvP category, as it's you're able to play like in like a 10v10 lobby with other players. But our goal with the PvP planets is to basically create like a large like like ecosystem of games, so that like if you don't like one of our games, you can go and fly to the racing planet and play a racing game with completely different mechanics against your friends, or then you can go and then fly to our first person shooter planet, where you're able to play in the 5v5 matches on one of our many maps that we're building, and then you go to the tank game. But basically it's just like a kind of like a hub for different games. That's why I keep referring to it as like an arcade style thing, where it's, since in the arcade there's a bunch of different games that you can play, but for us like the arcade is the Borgverse and the planets are the games. So yeah, so that's the PvP like broken down pretty simply, and then the last section of planets are the single player planets, the solo planets, where it's basically you don't have to have anyone else playing with you. So that if there's no one else online with you, you can go to these solo planets and play games that are like centered around single player um like experiences. So for example, like we have a parkour planet that we built out where it's like a 10 levels where it progressively gets harder. We also have an aim trainer where you're able to like train your headshot aim, your flicks, your reaction time and all that. But the main goal of these single player planets, they're not the main attraction of the Borgverse. They're more of just like something you can do for fun if there's no one else that's playing and you want to progress on some of these single player planets. But yeah, so that's the three categories broken down pretty simply. Basically, a community planet to meet people, PvP planets to play with the people, and as I said, each PvP planet is designed to be completely different, so that you can't really get bored of what you're doing. And then there's the solo planets, which are more just leisurely planets where you're able to play by yourself. And our goals in terms of for the long term with these planets is to basically create kind of like a launch pad structure similar to what Sandbox did, where anyone can go and build their own game on the planet and just launch that in the Borgverse. So kind of like what Roblox does, where anyone can go on. Like 90% of Roblox has like 3 million games on their platform, and like 99% of those are created by the community.
Yep.
And like each game is completely different, and they're just building on top of the Roblox infrastructure. So that's one of our long-term goals. It's to create an infrastructure for other projects to be able to build their own like mini games on, or like their own community planets. Like they can, and which would allow like more people to get into the Borgverse, um, while at the same time helping out other projects that might not have the infrastructure needed to build their own game from the ground up, but still want to get into the like kind of like the gaming space or like the community gamification side of things.
Yeah, so it's kind
Um,
of a way for like indie gamers to be able to build their own games and join in and feed additional content into the system.
yeah, and like that's one of the things that like it kind of follows like a reason for why we have like different games on each of the PvP planets is because we want to have a constant feed of new games and experiences for people to play, because we don't want the Borgverse to get like boring to someone, or for them to not have anything to do or just get bored of our PvP games. So allowing other people to build on top of what we already have just opens up the library to new possibilities and new games, especially if you have like a ton of different communities from the Solana working on it. But yeah.
So that's a great overview of the planetary systems, the three different styles. I've linked a whole heap of photos in the live questions for people you can see. There's also going to be habitats and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's go over the team a little bit then, Jen. So, I mean, to build, it sounds massive, honestly. Like what you're building three different styles of planets. You're building all of these different games. So, Botborgs falls under there's several teams within Botborgs building. Is that right? There's also a game development studio that's already produced games before as well.
Yeah, so that's actually well, like we're actually like we're about to launch like a completely updated site that's gonna have a lot more information on this. So give me 1 second to pull it up, just because I have a lot more info on there. It's gonna make it easier for me to talk about the team. Give me 1 second, because we're about to launch like a completely updated site in like a day.
Yeah, I remember. Obviously, talking on the side, we did mention that. And the team, there's different names for the teams, but not a great overview of the actual developers.
Yeah, got it. So we first started off with a studio, like an indie game studio called Martian Games. They have like 6 people that were under their like little indie studio, and the main person behind Martian Games, he's like our main project like leader, and he manages basically the team in terms of when it comes to like building out the planets. And he's been working in the space for 13 years now, and within these 13 years, like he's been building a ton of like little indie fun games. They were primarily like web-based games, and some of their games are like, if you go to like the hubs for like the web-based games, like they have games that have like over 1 million players in like their lifetime, similar to, if you know, like Mini Nations Royale. I know they're another NFT project on Solana. It's kind of similar to what they were building, but we decided to take that and take it into like a app-based game so we can develop something with higher graphics and higher quality. But Martian Games has been developing these games for 13 years now, and all of them have been with like they've all been like multiplayer PvP type games, which really helped us in terms of creating our own PvP planets, because we already have the infrastructure for a lot of different types of games. And we're just able to build on top of that with our own ideas and our own theme. But having that infrastructure and that team that's already like been working together for so long and building these types of multiplayer like PvP experiences, it made it a lot easier and made it a lot faster for us to build out our own planets. And so that's what we started with. And as we progressed, like it's easy to build like the community planets, like building out like a city with like a gallery built in, like that's easy to do. But when it comes to the PvP planets, it gets more difficult, because then you're looking at a ton of different things to do. Like you need someone to design the menu screens, you need someone to design the multiplayer servers, you need someone to do like the proximity chat, the leaderboard system, like lobby creation, all of that. So when it came to like starting our PvP planets, because we started with gallery first, we started reaching out to more developers in the space, not developers, game devs in the space, and bring them onto our team. Martian Games is based in San Francisco, and like it's kind of like a hub with a bunch of different developers there. And so we were able to bring on another 2 developers to continue helping us with our multiplayer planets. And we have like one of the things that I say, like we never really have like a definite number of people working with us, because we're always on and off with some people depending on which planet we're working on. Like if we need to work on one of the PvP planets that takes more time, we'll bring on another 1 or 2 developers to help us finish that up. But if we're working on like the community planets, like it's not really necessary to bring on more people. And then recently we actually brought on another studio called Bingo Art Studio, and these guys, it's another team of 4 people, and they're based in China, but they've also been developing games since 2013. But they're more of like their development is more focused towards our assets, like the in-game spaceships, the characters, like the buildings, the structures, and all that. And they actually have like a ton of experience with a bunch of games that you've probably heard of. If you've heard of Diablo 3 recently came out. They did a bunch of building for like the in-game structures for Diablo 3. They also did the character designs for what's it called? Player Unknown Battlegrounds, for the mobile edition of that. But yeah, so they've been developing these like characters and in-game assets for a ton of like AAA games. They've worked with Blizzard, they've worked with, let me see, it's on our website. One second. They've worked with Blizzard, Tencent Games, EA Games, NetEase Games, I Got Games. So a ton of really reputable and big brands in the gaming ecosystem they've worked with and helped them design their own characters, in-game structures, and all that. And we recently brought them on around 2 weeks ago, and they've been helping us immensely when it comes to our character development and as well as our like spaceships. Like if you look at our Twitter this last week, we've posted some sneak peeks of our characters and spaceships, and this team's just really good at what they do, and it really like helps us up our quality when it comes to the player to player interactions, because on all these planets are multiplayers, so you're going to see all these other robots running around you, and they need to be animated correctly. Like they need to have animations for everything: picking up weapons, shooting weapons, jumping. We even have built-in jetpacks on the robots. So on the community planets, like the gallery planets, you can activate your jetpack, and like the back of your robot opens up, and you can fly up and down. But yeah, that's basically like the team side of it. We have like I would say it's like two studios working together with each other, and then we also outsource a lot of help with other people like in a space that our developers are connected with. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, obvious question there. These teams that they'd be fully doxed teams. Then is that right? They've already been in the community for a long time. That they're building. They've been available, so they're fully doxed teams.
So the teams they haven't been building fully in the crypto ecosystem. Like they've been building in the gaming
In traditional
space, but
traditional
not in
gaming space, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So if you go like they both have their own websites. Like you can go to what's their site name? One second.
Yeah, we can drop that in the live questions. Would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Leaderboards.
that's a positive thing to hear, because that means that they've been around building traditional games, and to be able to make a successful crypto game, I think a lot of companies aren't realizing the fact that we need to have this playable game. We need an immersive game and a system that is going to both be financial, but you want to play these games. You know what I mean? Like the gameplay I've watched on the tank battle game is amazing. I've just had some up on screen then as well. I've linked a few pictures for that, and that is a really quality game to get out there, and it's actually playable at the moment. It's 20 versus 20.
Yeah. So that was one of our goals. Like we know like it's most of the games that you're seeing right now that are like live and playable. I'm not gonna like say names because I don't want to throw shade on anyone, but like none of them on Solana at least, none of them really have any functionality, or like anything other than like a demo, but that's really does not really function correctly. But our goal was to like launch a multiplayer planet that's playable. You can actually play with other people, and it's not just like some pixel art where it's like you're running around as like a shitty version of Minecraft. But, so yeah, that was one of our goals, and getting it launched like earlier this month was pretty good. But we continue to keep on building, especially with like our flying system, because I really think that's going to be a lot more fun even the tank game, because you're able to fly from planet to planet. And now that we're adding these two gallery planets, you're going to be able to fly from around in our like demo version of these of the Borgverse, where it's you can shoot each other, you can land on the gallery planets, you can talk to each other, and yeah.
Yeah, is there like a I mean, there's so much within that conversation there to talk points, but is there like a slingshot where you're slinging some of your ships through space from one planet to the next?
So yeah, it's not really a slingshot. I know we posted on Twitter like a few days ago. It's kind of like a warp gate. So it's like so you can fly regularly from planet to planet, or teleport, as I said earlier. When flying, there's also asteroids in the air,
Yeah.
and you can destroy these asteroids, and they give you like this little like boost, because you have like a little stamina thing on your right side of your screen that shows how much boost you have left, and you can like click shift and make your spaceship go faster. And there's actually a leveling system for that. So like every time you kill someone, you get XP and you can like upgrade your spaceship. But for those warp gates that I think you're referring to, there are in space like warp gates set up between planets, and basically if you enter these warp gates, they kind of look like huge moving portals. It just shoots you really fast towards the other warp gate that's next to the other planet. So it kind of makes the travel like the flying system easier, since not easier, more safe, since you're not too worried about other people shooting you down. But at the same time, if you're gonna do that, like you might as well just use a teleporter and not even bother flying. But we just added it just in case people still want to fly for a little bit and then just go and have like something and just blast off using the warp gate if they need to.
I am noticing a lot of questions being asked at the moment. We will go to questions. We'll absolutely go to questions. That's what I love about AMAs. So with gameplay, what are we looking at, Dejen? Are we looking at computer only to start off with?
Yeah, so we were actually originally just gonna do a browser-based game. That's why the intro to our website was browser-based. It was just like a little like tease of what's to come. But it's just not really adequate for us to continue like building it on web. Like since as I said earlier, the Martian games like they're really good at optimizing things for like web. Even if you look at like the Hoverboards game, like it's 170 megabytes, which is like nothing when you look at other games and stuff like that, because it's so heavily optimized to be able to run on any like device. Um, but we shied away from that, from like having it on like web or mobile, because it's just not possible to run such like a graphically intense as well as like like with so many features. It's just not possible to do it on many devices other than your PC. But yeah.
That's all right. So, I mean, mainly PC, but so does that mean it's being built on the core planet, for example? I guess we're downloading the actual the file, the exe file. That was 60 odd megabytes. You got to unzip that. So, when you guys fully launch, is that going to be how we're doing it normally? We've got to download these game
No,
clients.
no. So it's all going to be in one download, and we're actually working on an auto patcher where it automatically like does like if it's like a smaller update, for example. So like on our FPS planet, we have like advertisements where it's like there's like stuff. Right? There's a it's like a neon city and on our FPS planet, and there's like banners and stuff with where other people can advertise. So for example, we were talking with one of the guys behind FTX NFTs, and they just gave us like some media content to like put on those banners inside of the maps, and we're working on having like an auto patcher tool that I think we already have it, but it basically just auto updates it when you launch the game. Like I don't know if you've ever played Call of Duty. I know like sometimes like when you open the game at the top there's like a little loading thing like downloading shaders or downloading like something like that. So for the smaller updates, it's going to be auto updated within the game. For the bigger updates, like when we add a planet, you're gonna have to like update it manually through our website, not re-download the whole thing, just like click the update button. Um, but yeah, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna right now. It's still like the file right now that you're downloading on our website. It's still really early since it's only one planet, so like it's hard to like say how it's gonna be. But yeah,
And then the computer, they're not going to need to have a beast of a computer or anything like that. Just it's optimized. You did say so. It's optimized for playing on different devices. So if people don't have a $1,000, multiple $1,000 machine, they'll be fine.
yeah. I mean, I my dad has like a $200 Chromebook, and I asked him to download it like on his whenever he has some free time, and he said that it was working fine on his Chromebook that has doesn't even have a graphics card; it's just running off a motherboard. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good. So that's going to give people an option then. And I guess asking on that Chromebook, is it going to be available for both Windows and Apple?
so I know right now it's only for Windows, but yeah, it's not difficult to make it optimized for both. It's just something I need to talk to our developers about to make sure it's good for both operating systems. But yeah.
So there is a couple of questions I can tie in now. I'll try and feed those into the AMA as we're going along at the right times. But there are a lot of other games and metaverses building at the moment. There's another one mentioned here. I'm not familiar with the name, but Phantom Galaxies. What actually makes Botborgs unique to the rest of the games and metaverses coming out?
Yeah, so we understand that creating just a game it's not enough because you can go and play like one of the other AAA games that does similar to what we're doing but at a higher quality rate. That's why we have play to earn features inside of the game. So for example, on the PvP planets, you're going to be able to play games and earn a token by playing the games and being the top performers. So even if you look at the Tank planet right now, there's a leaderboard system, um, and so we're basically working on a daily reward system where the top players, top performers are able to get rewarded for their gameplay. We're also working on a system where you're able to, on the single player planets, like the exploration planets, the parkour planets, you're able to explore and pass through levels, and basically as you progress, you earn our token, and it basically gives you like a monetary gain for playing our game. Because I know that just having a game without anything, without any subsidies attached to it, um, it's not really like gonna survive in the crypto world, because no one, when, like if someone wants to play a game, they're gonna go play Call of Duty or
Yeah,
Halo.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not gonna go and play Axie Infinity. Like, people don't play Axie Infinity for the gameplay; they play it to earn money.
Yeah, isn't
And
1 cent for SLP? Hasn't that been hammered as of recent?
yeah, yeah,
So let's get a little bit into so that's talking about the gameplay and the coin and all of that. We do need to touch on the NFTs and have a look at the tokenomics and the business model as well. But let's talk a little bit about NFTs first. So that it's quite an in-depth system for NFTs that Botborgs is building out. You're starting that with the actual namesake, the Botborg. There's going to be 10,000 models, but you haven't announced dates or potential launch costing. Do you want to talk a little bit about the base of the Botborg NFT?
yeah. So what we're offering to mint, it's going to be the Botborg NFT, which is basically the bot that we're using on the planet. What comes with the, you're not buying a pass to get into the game, because we don't want to gate that with an NFT. Instead, what you're buying is access, so to different like parts of the galaxy. So for example, by holding the Botborg, you're able to travel to planets that are restricted to other players. For example, like we have a DAO planet where like you're able to go there and interact with other holders, as well as vote on different things that we're doing. We also have like, prior to releasing planets for the public, we're going to have them in the universe, but only accessible to Botborgs. We also have a system where, when you're playing on the PvP planets, we have the leveling system where you're able to upgrade your tank, you're able to upgrade your weapon, able to upgrade your shield and all that. So by holding a Botborg, it's basically, if you ever played Call of Duty, how they have like double XP weekend, by holding a Botborg, you just automatically progress faster in those games in terms of leveling and upgrades, which is a bonus, since then you're able to perform better, and be at the top of the leaderboards, which helps you earn money. So if someone actually wants to be like a top performer, they're gonna want to hold a Botborg, since it offers them more rewards by playing, since they get to level up faster. We were also talking with a few people. They were recommending for us to bring in kind of like a traveling fee, like not a fee, like a gas cost. Whereas, like, if you don't hold a Botborg and you want to travel using the teleporter instantly from this planet to this planet, you have to pay like a small fee, in terms of like our coin. And if you hold a Botborg, you can automatically, like, you just get free travel, instant travel. You get your own spaceship. And when it comes to spaceships and the PvP planets, as I was saying earlier, we have the studio working on all the assets. So by holding a Botborg, you're also going to have access to the customization tools for the spaceships, the customization tools for the tanks, customization tools for the racing game, where you're going to be able to like customize your racing car. Um, and it's more cosmetically than it is performance wise for this, since we don't want it to be like a completely pay to win environment, because then it just becomes unfun for people that aren't holders. But we've been able to have a lot of spaceship that is a lot more flashy, and a tank that looks a lot cooler than all your competitors, and that customization tool is only going to be accessible to holders. We're also thinking of tokenizing it, where it's like, if you're a holder, you're able to unlock certain parts that get airdropped to you, and you can attach these parts to your spaceship, as opposed to other people in the ecosystem that would actually have to go and buy these parts from you if they want them using our native coin. um but yeah, that's basically the benefits of the Botborg inside of the Borgverse. We're also working on the residential planets, which are, if you follow us on Twitter, you've probably seen one of the bunkers that we've posted. But we're working on a residential planet, where it's basically like a few planets, since there's going to be a lot of the residencies, and each planet holds a couple hundred of these homes. And with these homes, you can land on the planet, and then you can actually invite people to these homes. And inside, you're able to use our 3D asset library and like place whatever you want inside of your home. Put like text there, put your NFTs on the walls, like basically anything. Basically, kind of like you get like a blank slate bunker, and you're able to put everything you want inside of it. So if you look at our Twitter, like you can see like every day we post one custom bunker a day, and they're always completely different. They're all using our 3D asset library, which is going to be available to holders when we release the residential planets, which are planning to do it in the end of Q1.
Yeah, I mean, I've started having a play around with the portals tools. They came live yesterday or the day before. So is it going to be kind of a similar system to Portal? I'm not sure if you're familiar, where you've got a space, they give you a set of asset tools that you can place in certain spots.
Yeah, so definitely similar to that, but in terms of actually like getting to these residential planets and exploring them, it's a lot different than portals. Because with portals, you can only access them through a link. You can't fly to someone's planet
Yeah,
in
yeah.
game and then go and visit their home. You like which is how it's going to be in the Borgverse, where you're actually able to go with your spaceship, land on a landing pad, and then go and explore that residential planet with all the other homes on it, as opposed to portals where it's like you can only visit them by clicking on a link. So I feel like it's a lot more immersive inside of the Borgverse compared to other projects where it's more just web based.
Now, people get access, all the Borg holders actually get access to their own individual home, don't they?
Yeah. So as I was saying, it's still a work in progress. So I feel like it's still early to really speak on the exact details, so can't really set anything I say in stone. But yeah, what we're planning on doing is offering a blank slate to every single holder, and by doing that, we're going to create 5 or 10. We're planning on creating it's either between 5 and 10 different planets, and each planet's going to have a couple hundred of these homes, so that it's more diverse, and you can basically create like different parts of the system of the of the galaxy have different planets with different residential homes on them. But as I said, it's still early to talk on that as we're still like developing features for that. Um, but for what I could say for the bunkers themselves to make them differentiate from each other, we have a 1 floor, we have a 2 floor, we have a 3 floor, and we have the 3 floor with the underground area, which is what you see on our Twitter page.
Yeah,
But
I've linked a
creating
few in the live questions channel. I think I've done different ones, 1, 3, and a 4 floor.
Yeah, so we've created like a bunch of different base layers, and that the one that you linked most recently, that's just like a banner that we created, but we've created different structures so that it's more diverse. You don't just land on a planet and see a bunch of the same exact structures. But yeah, that's basically the features for what you get by being a Botborg holder, as well as early access, as I said earlier, to like anything that we do. So if we ever hold like a planet auction, which we plan on doing like one every 2 or 3 months, you get like early access to that. You get early access to the residentials and all that stuff.
I guess it's worthwhile mentioning while we're still on the NFT actual part of the subject is with the Botborgs, there's going to be potentially a certain amount of your coin token per day holding a Borg.
Yeah, so that's something that's also still in the works. We're talking to a few advisors on how exactly to do that without like ruining the in-game economy, since it's difficult to like balance things out. You don't want people to be earning like a crazy amount of tokens and then just they're not like being any utility for those tokens. So that's something that's also in the works. It's not going to be available right off the bat because we don't want to push things out without doing our due diligence and making sure that they're not going to ruin the game as a whole. Because if you look around, like every project is offering like tokens, but 99% of these tokens aren't going to survive, especially if they don't have anything backing them.
Well, you've also got a lot that are launching tokens before there's any form of utility, zero utility added at the start. So that is good that you guys are looking at the utility and making sure that you're going to have a future tokenomics that works. And then there's talk as well of potential breeding in the system, holding two Botborgs going to do botlings.
Yeah, so that's something that's still on the table. We might scratch that completely in terms of the breeding system, because if we don't think there's any benefit to it, give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
Just obviously there's lots of links in the live questions chat.
I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so that's still on the table. As I said, if we were thinking of that earlier stages, but now as we're maturing, if we can't find any way to benefit these holders of bottlings, we don't want it to be a thing like a useless kind of like derivative kind of thing. Like, so it's still on the table. It's not finalized either. That's also one of the reasons that I started pushing out that news site today or later tomorrow, which is going to have a ton more info and insight into like basically like an updated roadmap of where we're at and what we're doing.
I guess the storyline behind Botborgs is that the humans created them, and then they slowly they started to evolve and create themselves. So it could always give you guys something to airdrop down the track if people have got multiple Botborgs, they just make their own, and you just do an airdrop sequence for them.
Yeah, for sure. And as I was saying, like it seems like everyone's just doing these airdrops, but if the things that we're airdropping have no value attached to them or no use in the game itself, it's just not worth airdropping for us. So we're taking our time and making sure that everything has value and purpose inside of the game, and not just like rushing out something and promising some garbage that's never actually going to have any value to it.
So we talked a little bit about the bunker homes and the planets having a different array of homes, and potentially players may not get them for free, but will have possibly early access to the auctions for them. But there is going to be something where you guys are actually going to do like planetary auctions, and that was mentioned on your current website, but it's going to be quite a rare occurrence. So is that still on the table?
Yeah, so for the planetary auctions, a lot of people have been asking us like, oh, like, can we buy a planet? Can we buy a planet? But if we sell a planet, like, what are you gonna do on that planet? Like, if we can let you build something, but like, I just find we find really like, if we sell planets, there's really no purpose for them in the universe right now, since there's not going to be anything to do on them. So they're just going to be vacant planets, and you're just going to be sitting there with a planet in your inventory. um, the We are planning on doing the planet auctions where our team actually builds with the person that wins the auction, and we custom build the entire planet to actually make it like fit in with the theme and like the Borgverse as a whole. So it's not just like a vacant planet with nothing on it. That's one of the reasons we're only planning on doing it like once every 1 or 2 months, because we're actually going to build out the entire planet with the winner and basically do whatever they want on it so that it fits in and it's actually fully built out for other players to visit inside of the Borgverse.
So what you're kind of saying is you don't want people to speculate and purchase planets just for the pure purpose of getting a metaverse planet. You want to actually have people inputting usages for that as soon as possible for the rest of your gamers.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's basically what I was saying. We don't like, yeah, it's cool to have your own planet, but at the same time, it's like if it just has nothing on it and you're doing nothing with it, we don't want that to be in the Borgverse since it's just a blank spot that we don't want people traveling to. Um, but yeah, so we're more thinking of the use case of what we're releasing instead of just like giving people something cool to look at. We want people to actually be able to use what they have, and use their NFT on like just holding it and thinking that they're going to get something in the future. But so yeah.
So let's wrap up that point section there of NFTs. We're looking at 10,000. It's going to be January, but did we get a? Sorry, did you mention a price point there? Potential. Obviously, you guys are still deciding, but because it hasn't been launched on the website and listed in any of the Twitter feeds that I can see. But is there a rough idea of what we will be looking at time wise and cost wise?
So there isn't an exact date or price yet. We're planning for mid-January, and we've been reached out to by Magic Eden and Fractal in terms of launching in collaboration with them. And we're thinking of launching through the Magic Eden Launchpad because some of our friends, such as Chain Myth and what's it called, the mini Royale Nations or whatever, another two gaming projects, Solana, they launched through Magic Eden Launchpad, and they both said that they had a good experience with them. And at the same time, launching through one of these launchpads like helps bring people are not as worried when minting, especially with all these rugs and
Yeah.
wallet drains happening recently. So we're most likely going to be launching through one of those launch pads, and it's just so like people that are minting like feel more secure and safe about what they're doing, as well as it helps with exposure because partnering with either Fractal or Magic Eden basically opens up the eyes of many people to the project. which would help our user base as a whole.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Magic Eden. And I mean, I've spent a lot of time with J-Myth and Zoe from there. It's they're awesome. They are really cool. Fractal, I haven't really seen a whole lot of. Obviously, they've launched onto the scene of the gaming scene specifically, and they've exploded very quickly. But I need to get top up with them myself.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we're looking at Magic Eden primarily because Fractal doesn't really have anything like that's out yet for people to like look at or try out. So yeah, it's looking like we're gonna go down the Magic Eden route.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's really good. So, I mean, tokenomics. We touched a little bit on the token. Not really a whole lot. Do you guys have much information out for that now, or that's going to come out with your new website launch?
So yeah, so we're still working on the tokenomics because, as I said, we're not really rushing anything, and having so many PvP planets, like the tokenomics are constantly going to be like progressing, as we're adding more planets with more use cases for the token. So nothing's set in stone, but we're working on the tokenomics for our base planets that we're building and are going to have out soon. But as I said, as we keep on adding more PvP planets and more different types of games into the galaxy, new tokenomics for those planets themselves are going to arise, new as well as new use cases for the token.
So that's all. That'll come down into talking about a business model, but until you guys really put that out, I guess it's easy enough to understand. There can be cost put into charging people traveling, charging people to play games, charging to interact and
Rewarding
stuff.
top,
But yeah,
yeah, rewarding top performers. We don't want, we're not charging people to play. We offer like private access to a few planets to holders, but we're never going to charge players to go and like play on an actual planet unless it's a tournament style thing where we host a tournament where you have to buy into the tournament. The winner gets like a prize. But we're not gating our game with what's it called, with like a payment, because that just, it's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to have as many people like discover the game and play it for themselves instead of having to pay to play, which like turns away a lot of people. Similar, if you look at the mini Royale Nations or whatever that released like a couple weeks ago, they already had like a big user base built up, and even after the NFT launch, they're not charging anyone to play. You just get a few like bonuses if you're a holder of their NFT.
yeah, and they've got massive gameplay and massive updates. They've done really well, Mini Royale. Um, So, was it to be able to earn from the games though? You need to own a Botborg. So, if you can play the games for free, but if you want to earn, you then have to own NFT. Is that right?
No, so anyone's gonna be able to earn, but as I said earlier, if you're a holder, you get faster leveling and more XP for your games on the PvP planets, as well as free travel. But so on the PvP planets, even on the like the tank game planet right now, every time you play a game, every time you get a kill, it counts towards your XP. So like if you're on the main menu screen, there's a like a little level counter on the top left, and when you load into a game, you can upgrade your bot. Um, but if we go with the system that I was talking about earlier, where it's like the people at the top of the daily leaderboards get rewarded, you're going to need to be pretty high level and pretty well upgraded to be able to get on top of the leaderboards and be the top performer of the day, which helps out Botborg holders since they're able to level faster and upgrade faster. But if there's someone that's not a holder and just is just playing for free, they can still get up to that level. It's just going to take them longer, but they could still do it and still get to the top of the leaderboards. That's also one of the things that I was saying about earlier about how we don't want to gate like the main gameplay for anyone, especially also when it comes to the earning aspect. We don't want to gate it to just holders. We want anyone to be able to earn, but as you like, there's also, of course, going to be benefits in terms of that earning for holders since they're able to do it at a much faster pace than normal people.
Cool, cool. Thank you for that clarification. That's good. So the last main talk point I had before we get into some AMAs and stuff like that. Sorry, some questions from the crowd. We've got quite a few building up in a couple of the chat groups. Um, Artist empowerment. You guys are really going out to support artists, and I did notice that on the website. It was a good little read. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you guys are doing that at Botborgs and the differences you're making there?
Yeah, so in terms of artists, we have a ton of artists on our team alone, but there's also a ton of artists that we have to like turn down or like couldn't hire because we just had too many people working at the moment. But there's a ton of artists that are like really undiscovered in the space, even though they're creating really good work, especially when it comes to like the 3D stuff that we're working with. But our goal is to basically create like every 1 or 2 weeks, get like an artist on board and just have them like create something for like players in our game. So for example, like they could create a custom bot or like a custom attribute, or they can create like a custom in-game monument or something like that. And we basically do like an auction for whatever they create with us, and that would go to them. And then we'd also do like an airdrop with like a custom piece that they would create, similar to what the Skulls did. I forgot what the exact name of the project is. Like I know they did like 30 days of airdrops from like different artists. It's kind of like that, but more in depth, since we're going to dive in with the artists and actually have them do something for us that's game ready and integrated into the game. But yeah, our goal is to really try to like open up the eyes of people in our community as well as other communities to artists that may not have a big following and need some exposure.
Yeah, look, I love it. Anything that helps create and get better into the space, and even potentially do unique things for specific individuals. Or maybe are you looking at potentially using them as prizes for a monthly event or things like that?
Yeah, 100%. As I was saying, it's really like the limits are really endless for artists. We can create something that's an in-game reward. We can have the artist create like a custom trophy that the winner of like a tournament that we host gets, and like people have to pay like a super small fee to buy into that tournament, and the proceeds would go to the artist.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's really there's really a lot of different things that we can do. So it's not I can't really narrow it down to just like a few things, since possibilities are really endless, especially when we're building something that has so many use cases to it.
How about on the music side of things? Have you guys got any musicians within your teams, your artist teams as well, to create for the games?
Yeah, so we have a composer that's comes with the Martian Games team that has been helping them as well. It's not like a full time thing for our composer, but after our mint, we're definitely going to look into. As I said, we're going to be expanding our team a lot more with a larger budget, which will help us get more people on board, especially like a full time composer that'll help us develop the sound and all that for our PvP planets. But right now, we have one that's we only have one planet out and another three that we're working on. So it's not something that like we need full time, but he has been working for us for the planets that are already live.
What about you've got other games that have linked up with Audius is getting pretty huge now for Solana, so potentially clicking a button in your tank to turn on your local Audius channel.
So sorry, can you repeat that? Oh, like clicking a button and like having like your own music play while you're in game.
Yeah, so like
Or
Audius is supplied. You can play that in game on DeFi land at the moment. Plus, it's linking up with Star Atlas quite heavily. A lot of the games are linking up with with Audius. So, is there a potential partnership there?
yeah, we haven't reached out to them, but yeah, I know what they're doing. Like they're building up. They have like kind of like a Spotify buffer. But yeah, we'll definitely reach out to them coming closer to our releasing our new planets, as that could be definitely be something we look at
I
collaborating with.
I've been listening into the Audius like a fair chunk. Anyone that watches my videos and stuff, the decentralized Spotify, I think it's fucking amazing. And some of the playlists are actually pretty cool. So anything that puts it into the artist's hands more, the power and the money and the profits, I'm all for, definitely.
For sure.
So what about let's talk about partnerships within Solana ecosystem. You mentioned FTX before. I think was that an FTX Planet that had mentioned. Have you got any major partnerships with projects already lined up that have been announced?
So for the FTX thing, it's not like building on a planet. It's more of putting like some of their like kind of like advertisement and some of their memes and stuff inside of our, because all of our planets that are like the community based planets, like the galleries, as well as a few of the maps in our FPS planet have like these like billboards and like flying, like kind of like if you've ever been to Times Square, like there's a ton of different billboards all over the buildings, like neon signs and all that.
Yep.
So for that, we're just gonna have like their advertisements and stuff on our buildings. In terms of collaborations, I mean, we've done like small collaborations with over like 20 projects to include them inside of our galleries. So our galleries are like packed with a bunch of different art. We've also worked with like 10 one of one artists on Solana that have like given us like shared images for us to put inside of the one of one galleries. We have like an abstract art gallery where it's a bunch of projects like Infinity Labs, OX Drip, and a bunch of those other projects that do like more abstract art. In terms of like big partnerships, like game changing partnerships inside of the game, um, we, we haven't really collaborated with other projects in terms of that because our main goal is slash priority is to get out our first 10 planets, and we have a pretty like dead set vision on what we want the planets to be. So we don't really need to like incorporate other projects into the games just yet. But yeah, the main collaboration when it comes to other projects is through the gallery and the community planets, where we feature other projects, NFTs, and people are able to go and explore that.
That's still pretty huge in essence, and I like there was a lot of alpha just dropped there. 10 planets they plan on launching. I think you guys have got several of those planets already locked down, but the NFT scene is huge on Solana. It's been a really big year, 2021, for NFTs and how it's just grown and exploded through the space. So even showing that and offering utility and people potentially walking through galleries and seeing new art that they might not have seen before, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and it's something like it's like a good way of collaborating with people without doing like a ton of like custom stuff. It's just like you get them into the galleries, and it's a cool way for like their community members to jump into our game, to go and like check out the gallery planets. And while they're there, they might get carried away and go to our PvP planets or meet up with someone on that planet, on the gallery planet, and then just meet someone new to talk to and play the game with.
We'll get into a few extra questions here now. It was an interesting one I was just reading at the same time. How do you reconcile the sense of scale for players from a living room in a house of planets that are light years apart? It's a bit of a confusing question. So, how do you reconcile the sense of scale for players in a living room in a house of planets that are light years apart? So, I guess are the houses going to be the same size on different planets, or how do you make all that work?
So for the so I'm kind of having a hard time understanding the question. So can you like kind of like try to break it down for me just so I can get a better understanding? Because it's kind of difficult for me to understand it.
I guess the question's based on you're going to have planets that are light years apart. You're going to need to use warp gates to travel to them backwards and forwards. So how do you scale out those houses that are going to be on individual planets that are light years away?
So okay, so are you talking about the structures that are on those planets,
I
or
think
the
so.
land
I
building?
think that's where that's referring to. Yeah, more
Okay,
the
so for the sorry. So for the PvP planets, the planets themselves are just like big globes with like water and mountains on them. For the PvP planets, you actually fly into the center of the planets where there's like a big opening for spaceships to land on. Then you take a teleporter, not a teleporter, elevator, and once you're like going up on the elevator, it just fades into the menu screen for the PvP games. That's for the PvP games. For the gallery planets and the community planets, um, the planet it's like it's hard to describe without seeing it visually. But the structures are built on the actual surface of the planet, so you're actually able to take your spaceship and fly by the buildings like on the surface of the planet. It's kind of hard to really explain how it looks without like seeing it in person, since we already have it like built out. Like it's pretty easy to understand once you see it. Um, but every planet is structured every community planet is structured similarly to each other in terms of the scale of each like building. So if you fly to this gallery planet number two, which is like a sand biome, with like buildings and stuff, it's the same size as the neon Tokyo gallery planet where it's like skyscrapers and stuff. But when it comes to the PvP planets, it's you don't actually see the game on the planets. You land on the landing pad, and then you take a elevator that fades you into the menu screens for those PvP games. I hope that kind of answered your question, but it's kind of difficult to answer without like a visual.
Yeah, it was a difficult question. You tackled that well. The idea of other communities building their games on your platform sounds really useful to some smaller NFT communities who have games on their roadmaps. Do you have any examples put together for what it would look like for a game or a community to exist and build on top of your platform? And then it does ask about the economics of how they pay for that.
Yeah, so in terms of the actual building on top of our infrastructure, that's something that's, as I was saying, that's more of a long-term goal. It's not something that's going to be available like soon, as like our goal right now is to get our own planets out and then build infrastructure for other projects to be able to build on top of it. But and seeing as it is still so early, it's hard to talk on the economics part of that as well. But if you want to like basically what we're like trying to base it off of is kind of, if you look at, if you've ever seen like the Roblox creator studio, where you're able to like take their like their asset book, as well as their like just like all their tools, and build inside of on their like inside of their ecosystem with their tools. It's very similar to what Roblox is doing, just in our environment. So if you want to have like an idea of what we're like trying to achieve, I check out how Roblox did it.
And then can teams potentially reach out to your own team there at Botborgs if if there's existing protocols out there building something? Can they reach you for potential partnerships down the track?
Yeah, for sure. We're always open to partnerships, especially when it's like when it comes to like some of these projects that are actually like building something cool, and want to like do something in terms of like game wise, or if they have like developers that are developing like their own like um like environments and stuff like that. Like it's not that difficult to incorporate onto a planet. But yeah, we're always open to partnerships.
So we're coming up to the hour. We've talked extensively about a few different topics. I've probably missed a whole heap. The Jen, is there something specifically that you wanted to talk over that we've missed? And just for the crowd out there, sorry, before we go into that from Dejen, if you've got any questions from the stage, please put your hand up and we'll get you on stage. So we always try to encourage our Gibbons, rank C onwards to come up on stage. We've always got prizes. It was mentioned today we'd have some NFTs and white listings given away. Yeah, Dejen, what did we miss out? What haven't we talked about so far today?
Um, so I feel like we touched on like the base level for everything. I feel like the most important part of the like the galaxy itself, or the Borgverse itself, is going to be those PvP planets, where you're actually able to play different games inside of our big game. As that's really going to like provide like an experience for people where they're able to play like games with completely different mechanics all in one hub. So like if they don't like, for example, like if you're playing like Call of Duty, and you don't and like you don't want to play a shooter game anymore, like you have to go and like play a different game completely. In the Borgverse, like if you're playing the tank game and you get bored of it, you don't just have to leave. You can just go and fly with your friend to a different planet and go start playing like a shooter game, or go and start racing people. So it's basically, by offering so many different experiences, it like retains people to stay inside of the game instead of just bouncing around and not staying within the ecosystem. And by adding that like earn mechanic inside of these PvP planets, I feel like it makes it really addicting, since like you can go on one planet, um, be a top performer, earn some money, and then if you're bored of that, just go and fly to a different planet and start competing there. So I feel like by having so many options, it just provides a lot better experience for users in the game. But I feel like we really touched on everything in terms of like the base level. I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when we're on the spot, isn't it? We always forget things to ask. You mentioned leaderboards before as well. Yeah, there's potentially leaderboards coming out for the 20 verse 20 game already.
Yeah, so for the leaderboards, we already have the leaderboards, like not like the official system where it calculates the winners live up yet, but on the Hoverboards planet, you're actually able to go and like see the live leaderboards right now and see who the top levels are, and you can see their names, their stats, their XP, and all that. But we're building out a more enhanced version of that, so that it's like we can apply that to every single PvP game on like on our planets. And yeah, so it has like a similar system on every single planet.
Very cool. The real is it Nomad? The real Marad. The real. I've invited you to stage. Just click the accept. But what are we looking forward in the next couple of weeks then, Dejen? You've got your NFT launch.
Yeah, so in the next 1 to 2 weeks, we plan on launching our flying system, where you're able to fly inside of the spaceship from planet to planet, as well as like get into the spaceship, get out of the spaceship, take the elevator from the core of the planet to the surface of the planet. So in the next 1 to 2 weeks, we our goal is to launch the spaceship traveling system, as well as one or two of our gallery planets, and that's also going to be connected as well with the Hoverborgs planet, which is going to be the third planet in the Borgverse that people are able to travel to and play. But I feel like once we add the spaceship system, as well as the traveling system and the like multiple planets, it's really going to open up the eyes of many people to like really see what our goal is. Because just downloading the Hoverboards planet right now, it doesn't really feel immersive. You're just loading into a menu screen and playing the
Yeah.
game. By actually being able to like you're loading into like the spaceship and flying from planet to planet, shooting down each other. Like I feel like it's going to provide a much more immersive experience for players and really open up the eyes of people.
Yeah, I love the asteroid cliffs. How you destroy those and you can move around, and you've talked about the PvP aspect of it as well. The real Morad, have you got a question there?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Can hear you loud and clear, mate. Thanks for coming. What would you like to ask?
I really love the art on your Twitter, and I like the idea of creating new planets and such. So my question is about partnerships. You take any other metaverse plays, there are a lot of advertisers and real world partnerships with other companies. So I was wondering if you have any partnerships in play, anything you're pursuing.
In partnerships in terms of what, like with other projects or
Yeah, like partnerships with other projects, or in fact with Nike, Adidas, or Puma. Anything about partnerships. Outside of your team, have you been working with any other protocols or businesses? That might want to be interested in Botborgs.
yeah. So we were talking about this earlier. Kind of, we touched on it where I was saying we worked on a few projects on the ecosystem on the gallery planets. In terms of outside of the projects on Solana, I know Chainmyth reached out to us asking if we wanted to work with I forgot what their name is. It's like one second. It's called IQ Protocol.
Oh
They
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
do
The
like
Parsec, the IQ protocol. That's about NFT lending, renting out and stuff.
yeah. So they reached out to us asking if we'd want to like work with them. I'm still looking into that as I see it's like pretty cool how they have like the digital asset renting and subscription kind of system. And I could see that as something that we might be able to do with like if you're a holder and you have a spaceship, you can actually lend your spaceship to other people that aren't holders, or even if we have like a pass for people that want to use the teleporters, since those are instant travel and a lot easier to use, we might even offer like a being like for holders of the Botborgs that have a pass automatically to able to like lend that pass for people to buy on like that secondary market. But yeah, we're definitely still looking into partnerships. As I said, it's pretty early to do like huge partnerships with other projects as we want to have our core game done and playable prior to like diving into time extensive intensive partnerships.
So, Morad, was that more based on? Are you talking already existing businesses that are out there? You mentioned Nike, Adidas, all those kinds of things. Is that what you mean? Like more mainstream businesses that are already out there?
Anything really. I mean, you see, there is sort of an exponential effect when other protocols like the IQ thing you were talking about, or in fact other real world businesses participate, right? If you take like Sandbox and other things, people are actually buying up real estate so that they can put up a
Yeah.
advertisement for Microsoft or Google and such. So I was just wondering, the project would just grow a lot more exponentially if there are lots of partnerships and people wanting to advertise in your metaverse and creating other stuff. So that's basically the basis of my question.
Yeah, so we're definitely, like I said, looking at partnerships, but even if you look at Sandbox, they weren't doing large partnerships prior to having their game actually playable. And now that the game is playable and like people are actually able to like see what they're doing, now they're doing a lot more in terms of partnerships. But for right now, like it's still really early to do any of these like large partnerships with other projects and people.
Yeah, totally understand. I guess right now your goal is to get as many players in as possible, so you can probably use that as information while you try to recruit new partnerships. Thank you. Makes sense.
Thanks for coming on stage, man. Great question. Um, we've gone past the hour now, so we're going to wrap that up there. Um, the Jen, I think, yeah, I'm glad you came to stage because obviously we were speaking for a
There's
little.
one second. There's one more question. I think some more person's raising their hand.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
about me.
we do try and is that one from your server? We'll bring him on stage.
No, but I saw he was raising it for a while now, so I might as well answer it.
Righto, Ogbami, would you like to say hello to the Jen and ask a question? I can't hear, mate, if you are talking.
Yeah, your mic's not working.
Just check the other channels as well. We can't hear you, Justice. I'm sorry. Just check your microphone settings. All right, I'll just move him down to audience there. You guys have got a whole lot coming ahead to Jen. I'm really impressed that you came to stage. I love it. It's a busy time of year with Christmas and New Year's coming up. Yeah, 10,000 Botborgs building, but the fact even building 10 planets to come out pretty much early on in your system of things. So there's going to be the PvP element, the PvE element. I like the plans of the ships in outer space. We didn't really get into the talk about how that's going to work completely, but obviously that'll need to be mapped out anyway. I look forward to the January releases. It's something that I've said to people is I would likely be minting. It'd be interesting to see what the prices are. You guys have got a whole lot of video play. I love the fact that you're looking at building your own houses as well. Your own habitats, I think, is the term you might use. That looks really good. There's going to be a huge system for players to come in. So I think you've got, is it 20,000 people on Twitter? 13,000. 13,000 Twitter,
Yeah,
10,000 on Discord. So, any closing thoughts on anything you'd like to say?
I really think we touched on a ton of good stuff. Just want to say thank you for having us. And if anyone ever has any questions come up or wants to learn more about the project, just join our Discord. And we're always happy to answer questions and happy to help new people learn more about the project.